IGSTS, this is episode 64. This is SAF Mo, your prison lawyer. Smoothest podcast, hosting podcast history. Got 3 phones with 5 numbers, and I won't call anybody back. That's how smooth I am. And you feel me? I'm not trying to bag, but this is 5 plus 5 is 10. And I feel like I'm on 10 right now with my man. I'm gonna give it to him back for the 3rd time. Blue.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. We doing it, you understand? Episode 64, talking community, talking this Nexus loan they trying to hide from us. Y'all tune in if y'all want to be in the know. SAF Mo, the prison lawyer.
Grill pit, bitch.
What?
But hold up, I got something to say.
Just gonna jump right into it. You know what I'm saying?
Let's get to it.
IGSTS episode 64. Back the 3rd time. First guest to ever be back 3 times. 3-peat. You understand me? You know, you feel me? You man, the man always bring the heat. So I had to, when you hit me up, I had to get you back. But you got boots on the ground. You in the community, so it's always good to hear from you and figure out what's going on. First thing I wanted to talk about, I really didn't demonstrate on any of that Juneteenth. How was that?
Good, man. Obviously we have a national holiday and a state holiday, so that's the first time, in state history that was actually funding and officially off that. And same with nationally. We're individuals, not everybody, but it wasn't. If you work for the government, you were able to get that day off. And so we've seen expansion, but as you see, we're still working on some holes in the game in terms of what does it look like for us to all come together. That's really the point of Juneteenth, is us coming all together. But so ain't nothing wrong with having diversity in our rainbow, but
Right.
It was interesting because there was, I'll probably say, at least 20 different Juneteenth events throughout the Twin Cities.
Now, before we go any further, I know who you are. I'm just gonna have you introduce yourself one more time for those who are just catching up on this. My man, go.
Man, my name is Drew, man. Everybody call me Blue, though, man. Raised over South, just a educator, small business owner, man, and just a humble servant, man. Just trying to be out here, just trying to make sense, man.
Yes, sir. Just trying to make sense out of this chaos. Now, did you attend any of those Juneteenth celebrations events?
Yeah, yep. North side, we was at the north side. We was at the one over south. At the south side of Seoul. That was a beautiful one.
What was that, like music, food?
Yeah, they had music, food. They had a hook and ladder show. They had a lot of the local talent. It's been a long time. Obviously Twin Cities had a lot of talent in terms of, vocally and musically. But I think now for the first time, us being able to support each other, us being able to do shows, get those shows packed out, and also bring other individuals, and they take our shows to surrounding states, you know what I mean? So yeah. I just think, it's finally, hopefully we just ready to blow. So I'm hoping for somebody, to open the kick. Obviously you got Sister Lizzo, you know what I mean, some other individual, but to really get us a major label and really get us pretty much. Put it on the map.
I mean, because there's so much talent, it just falls through the cracks, since Prince not around, and that Morris Day and the Time, that whole funk, that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, but it's still a lot of talent, on that. You mentioned that you're an educator. What I seen that in St. Paul, they got like $1 billion to revamp, do whatever they're gonna do with the education system. What's going on in Minneapolis as far as the kids over there? Do you see anything, any improvements or anything like that you want to talk about?
The same thing. The overall budget in Minnesota got increased, and so we had a surplus, I believe, in 2021. I believe it was around $3 billion or something like that. And so a lot of that funding, Minnesota is one of the states that spend the highest amount on education per pupil in the nation, if not the highest. I think we might be second or third comparable to maybe like California, like Massachusetts or something like that. And so they just put additional funding, and so what it looks like is them actually just opening up the budget and saying, hey, well, you know, some of the programs that we had talked about, and so that's kind of what the money looked like in regard to St. Paul and Minneapolis. It looked like some of the programs in terms of some of the after-school programs being financed instead of, you know, 2 year, but we're going to just give you that budget for the next 10 years. We're just going to elongate that, or we're going to make sure that you have a full elongated staff. And so it just looked like actually taking some of the projects and some of the work that brothers and sisters have been doing for the last 10, 20 plus years, and then be able to actually just have a budget that's going to make those things consistent and consolidate those things.
Now, are you seeing that budget being transferred over to north side schools, these charter schools? I mean, you work in a charter school, so is it any? Because I know when they talked about that budget, they were talking about it was like still COVID money. They're talking about next year that money not being available. Now, is there any talk about reducing staff, going back to what it was? Do you hear anything like that going on?
Yeah, so that's like you kind of saying, big bro. I think some of the program, depending on where, who's cutting the checks. So some of those charter schools, like you said, they were able to get additional funding. So like if it was a meal program, or if it was, some additional thing that wasn't a mandated educational experience, in terms of, with your daily interaction. So some of those programs are going to be rolled out, but for the most part, most of the programs are going to stay still.
Okay.
In regard to North Side, what you had, you just had continuously brothers and sisters who are doing the work, and it really looked like the problem is some of the institutions like the Boys and Girls Club or the YMCA, some of those things got closed down and didn't open back up.
Right.
So some of that in regard to some of those programs are even like, Sir in the boxing gym, being able to get those brothers consistent funding to be like, hey, no, if you just train the brothers, we'll keep the lights on.
Right.
Right. So I think a lot of it had to do with some of the money. They took some of that programming and they said, well, hey, this was also an opportunity where it says, hey, you've been doing this great program over North Side. Let's take this program out to Woodbury. Let's take it out to Maple Grove, and let's take it out to, other brothers and sisters who, they started using that word POC or BIPOC, or, we're going to start servicing our brothers from West Africa, our brothers, continental brothers and sisters from, our Caribbean. The same with the kind of that's funding that's going with this Nexus program.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about, because you sent me a link. Another brother that's in the community, well, shout out to my man Ty, hit me with it. I went on the website initially, and it said application was closed, but then he went back on the episode, and we did it again. He was like, no, they open and apply for them. That actually ends June 28th.
July
28th. That was July 28th?
July 28th.
Okay, so I thought I saw June. I was hurrying up trying to get my application in and all that other stuff. But how versed are you in that program, that Nexus program? Was it any type of?
I will be applying the same way you will. So that is basic, same like we talked about, them having those funding, and people had been historically saying, hey, well, here's how we can get a reparational experience in terms of it being out to the people that is loan is for, in terms of African Americans, people. One of the things that are stipulated in there, if we kind of talk about, is there's a stipulation that talks about, hey, if you were a person who was repudiated back to the continent, which basically, long story short, means if your people, it could have been in African Americans, but most of our, as you know, grandparents was on the plantation, maybe mom, depending on how old you is, mom or dad might have been raised on a plantation or came from the last people. So our people have a different experience in terms of the transatlantic slave trade than brothers and sisters who repudiated and left in the 1920s, or back with Brother Garvey, or brothers and sisters who've been, experienced, what it was like 60, 70, 80 years in the continent in regard to people who came over here. So there is a little bit of conversation that we need to have in terms of what does it look like for brothers and sisters who paid their dues of sweat and equity and built this country to have opportunity, in them to be able to make sure that we maximize and get every bit of the opportunity, and then we'll think about you on the opposite. That's just a respectful. It ain't got nothing to do with race or culture in it. It just has to do with the way that the money being broken down.
I know it broke it down a lot with the wealth, generational wealth, and it asked a lot of questions about finances and where you are in life at this particular moment. And then also the application itself, because I did the application, it actually draws off, first historical trauma, can you trace your roots back to a plantation or right back to Africa, like you were saying? Then it goes a little bit further, and it's like, since then, because that sweat and that labor was forcefully taken, and never has been repaid. Then it's saying, what have you experienced from that? Whether it be financial issues, whether it be generational wealth that was taken from you. We talk a lot about Rondo. We talk a lot about Black Wall Street. We talk a lot about Florida, where they built the overpass, Overtown. That's what they call it, Overtown. We talk a lot about New York. We talk a lot. They always show how lovely that central place they have, that they show how lovely, but that was all that was generational wealth. People lived there, had businesses there, functions there. They came there, stripped them of that wealth, and now they're trying to repay it. The repayment in dollar amounts still, in my mind, does not satisfy the hurt and the trauma that we've experienced throughout decades, centuries, of being downtrodden and trying to figure out why are we the last people in the race and we cannot win. I haven't seen any backlash of it as of yet. People coming out saying, anything about it. I'm sure it's going to be some backlash. I'm sure someone's going to have something to say about it, because if the inclusionists, anytime there's inclusion, there's always backlash, because the individuals, when they use the word equality, always make certain individuals feel like equality involves me losing something to someone else, but they never go back to the fact that what you're losing is something that you stole, right? And your benefits from that house that you guys had, those acres that you have, this land that you have, was taken from someone. First Nation people, initially and foremost, then you took the labor and sweat from a continent and utilized it to benefit yourselves. And that, like you said, that conversation has been walked around and nobody's really dealt with it. And when they deal with it, they want to, like I said, this right now, to me, the fact that they have this lottery system, which is this grant proposal, and you have to sit it out there. It's round 1, round 2, and round 3 with this grant proposal, to me doesn't do it justice, because there's so many individuals who have, they have individuals in prison based on what's been going on. Because if you look back into slavery, when they released us from those plantations, they were quick to lock us back up and then reclaim that labor, because they needed it. They weren't going to go back to work, so they needed that free labor. So it is a good move in the right. It's a good step the right way, but is it too little, too late? We don't know. Is it not enough? I can tell you it's not enough, because not enough is making the playing field even, right? For you to get your 40 acres and your mule, which we were given, and it was taken back from us, right? As soon as they released us, they felt obligated after the Civil War to give it to us. But then again, you had the Southerners complaining because they didn't want to deal with us. They didn't want us to have any type of wealth. They took it back from us, and we've been in this spot for a long period of time. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't seen you in a while, but when we first initially talked, you were talking about some community development that was going on in the community and different things like that. Different things that you were working on. What have you been working on as far as the community is concerned since we last had talked?
Like you said, big bro, I think to the point of what you're saying is us getting the funding behind some of the efforts that we've been putting in, is because, as you know, like to your point of what you just made, there is no American experience in addition to American opportunity without the African American here, just period.
You said it best one time on camera. It's like this country was built by us. We laid those railroad tracks. We built that Capitol. We did all that work that they did not want to do, because they were able to sequester that and force us to do it. So we built this country. It's on our blood and our sweat, and they reap the rewards from it. So yeah, it's just like trying to reclaim and get back to where we were, or where we should have been, or where they are now, or where their children are benefiting college, going to college, lawyers, doctors, all that stuff, being that benefit from it. And just like banks in general, because it was a big thing back in slavery to put insurance on individuals because you're a property, right? If you died, they got money from you, like the same way you do with a car, So all those things, then what I mean, the reason I brought that out is because the insurance companies in general, the banks, that Wells Fargo, all those banks were financing slavery, and they have not paid their dues to us, which to me is disgusting.
Yeah, I think once again, big bro, I think so. Like you said, us having this conversation is so critical because so many individuals have a different sense about what does it look like to be to get representation, to be repudiated or get reparations. You know what I mean? Because like you said. You have Canada, you have Mexico, that was built on slaves as well. You have Canada, that was built on French. You have 7 countries to this day that are still buying the French franc. That's still any natural resources that is from Barbados, you know what I mean? Any of them French speakers, they have to go to France government and get approval for them to sell that to any other third party, or if they don't, they can say deny to this girl. And so stuff like that is why reparations aren't even a viable thing, because it's the same way like America. Like if we don't, the same thing like we talk about medicinal. Okay, y'all want to open up the medicinal. Everybody's seeing what happened in California. What we had all the guys, but what less than 4%. If we had in all of Denver, when I went out to Denver, all in Colorado, you had only 7 people out of some 468 people, and only 7 people was black people. You know what I mean? And the same with Illinois. Illinois got, I think it's 11 black dispensaries, black-owned dispensaries, and all of, I think it was some, I think they got less of it, so like 200 or something in all Illinois. But it's like to the point of, you guys, you're talking about billion-dollar industries.
$1 billion, yeah.
And where's the money at? As you know, okay, you're talking about African Americans represent 40% of the marijuana incarceration. Okay, not only just the brothers who are pissing in the cup, not the brothers who paying the dues paid for you to somebody to tell you, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, and then you get paid and copy. So like you said, it's the same thing in regard to sports. Okay, so tell me if you take LeBron James away, Steph Curry away, I love Joker. Fantastic, my boy, but Joker, you couldn't, if you didn't know who Akeem Olajuwon is, you don't know who Bill Russell is, my boy. There ain't no such thing, and so
Dr. J, man, you know what I'm saying? All those guys,
man, Elgin Baylor,
all those guys put their stamps on. I mean, guys that we don't even know about because we forgot about them that set the game. You know what I'm saying? Bill Russell, you know what I'm saying? These guys who actually made the game different, made the game exciting. Go back to baseball, Negro League. The reason they took the Negro League away, it was too exciting and it was killing their league, so they had to incorporate. They didn't do it because they wanted to do it, they did it because they had to do it. They were killing it. But you got to look at too how all those franchises were black-owned franchises. They were business owners. But I look in the NBA and the National Baseball League and all those leagues, you don't see any black owners. None. Not one. And even if you want to point out one, it's a collective of individuals, and he might be the full person so they can actually get it. He might be a consortium of individuals that they got with. So they got rid of that. Look at the Globetrotters. Look how exciting the Globetrotters were and how they were touring around and barbershoning. That was our past. That was our people. We supported them.
Let's go even further.
Let's go.
Because what happened with our brother when they crucified our brother? Yay! Because what he said? He said what? Jewish brothers, this ain't got nothing to do. Once again, this is not bigotry. We're talking about simply put in regard to the transition of Jewish individuals taking their capital and investing into the hip hop industry. That is what they're talking about in the entertainment industry. In the 60s and 70s and 80s, the transit, like you said, we owned our own rights, owned our own stuff, owned our own clubs. But when we talk about segregation, black people were the only people that had to segregate. We're the only people that had to let our doors open and let everybody else come in. And like you said, the ghettos now became areas for y'all to come down. Same like downtown, but the same time, like we said, all these areas is like, oh, y'all don't have a scene besides for the scene with us.
Right.
And like you said, so not only, like you said, it's one thing for us to even talk about the labor, which would be in the trillions of dollars, what you couldn't pay back because you're talking about the average slave living to be 24 years old, you know what I mean? And us being in the billions of bodies stolen from the home continent over that 400-year processes. And then the raping, the pillages of our moms, our aunties, our sisters, that can't be, and then how we treat each other.
Yes.
Those things, minus the basketball, minus me shooting the hoop and shooting the J, minus me rapping and shooting, minus me, minus any of the industries that we can create on our literally our intelligence and our charismatic, but simply just the fact that you and I are out of, that is why all the industries, like they said, it's the same thing that happens with Native Americans, why you and I, most of us don't have a conversation on a daily, weekly, monthly, or any kind of ongoing conversation about Native Americans. Because if you perform a whole genocide on somebody, you say, well, no, not only anybody knows Native Americans came from Africa, so okay, we're not going to talk about that, but we're going to say, y'all were here before the white people, before slavery, and we genocided y'all. We ain't gonna talk about that. We just gonna say, oh yeah, we had black folks. Say, we had black. But no, we have Hispanic folks here. It was Hispanic folks. It was Latin. Spanish? You mean Spain, the country in Europe? No, they weren't speaking Spanish, fool. Get your history, learn your history. It's once again the same thing like with French, same thing with English. Like, what do you think? People weren't speaking English over here.
Never.
That is a country. And so that is why, once again, that's the same thing about the babies. That's why most babies can tell you more about, I love Guwap. I love your boy Gucci. Hey, most of them can tell you more about him than they can tell you about, Marcus, or could tell you about any of people, like you said, who put the sweat equity in for you to be the person and get the opportunity you did.
Noble Drew Ali, you know what I'm saying? Lead the pathway. Marcus Garvey being that centrist from all those brothers, he came from Jamaica and brought that knowledge, and his little knowledge that he brought, and it wasn't little, it was magnet, but the little knowledge he was able to give in the little time he was here, see what it did. It followed Elijah Muhammad, it followed Noble Drew Ali, it followed so many movements and gave people what they needed to know, but that was just that little bit. Imagine what could have had happened. But yeah, just to go back, you know what I'm saying, when we start talking about just the genocide and things that's going on, I look at the history that I've done, the research I've done. The South was rich. Remember, the first 8 presidents you had came from the South because of the plantations. You got to understand the richest states in the state during the time were southern states that owned slaves, because slaves itself was, people don't understand, American money wasn't worth anything. A slave was worth everything. That's why slavery wasn't, they beat their slaves and things like that, but they were careful not to kill their slaves because they knew that was property and that property was worth money. How do you think they got loans? They got loans against their slave capital. So what I'm trying to get at is, at the time, slavery and the business of slavery funded this country. That's why they went to war. They didn't went to war for nothing else other than the fact that these Southerners had so much money and they did not want to lose that money. And they had generations of wealth that was built on that money. They didn't want to give up. That's why they went to war. They didn't.
Let me build on what that. So you talked about going to war, right, big bro? So show me how there is no American Revolution without the black people.
Fought in that. Fought in every war they had.
There's no Buffalo Soldiers. The expansion of Canada into the West, all the way from Canada to Mexico, was a 12-year expansion of black folks working with indigenous folks to make the Western. There is no West Coast and all that type of stuff. That was black. Going back to, like you said, going to the Civil War, going back to the World War I. Okay, when we went over in Osaka, I'm confused. And when we went into any of these wars, any of the wars that black people, that is when the war changed. Same with the Arab, the Red Tails, all the movement, every time black folks, then the war changed. Like you said, the same thing. And so when they talk about, even when we talk about, let's talk about civil rights.
Let's talk about it.
They didn't want to. Wow, you said brothers and sisters. America had no conscience or no morality to want civil rights.
No,
it was black folks who literally was like, we sick and tired of being sick and tired, and not only inspired it, Cesar Chavez, the AIM movement, the American Native. Oh, wait a second, y'all don't want to talk about that. How Hispanic brothers and sisters and Native Americans, there was no, I'm confused. You were Hmong brother, Chinese, or no, y'all didn't want to care about, didn't care nothing about them. It wasn't until black folks was in Harlem and saying in Los Angeles, like, no, we open your doors up here, bro. Okay, you from Laos, you from excellent, man. We ain't worried about all that, bro. And like you said, if it wasn't for African Americans doing that, let's everybody know anybody who's been to Chicago, man, West Side, all owned by Asian brothers and sisters. I love my Arab brothers, but all owned by Arab brothers and sisters. It's like, hey, and that's the whole point. It's like, there is no opportunity without black people being stepped on, and that's what, like you said, that's why when it came down to even reparations, they had to open the door up to some BIPOCs and POC instead of just being like African Americans and Africans, and black Americans, because it opens up the door for people, brothers and sisters, who really don't have the plight, of you and I, and say, well, no, I'm gonna make sure bro's successful. I'm gonna make sure bro got it. You know what I mean? Instead of being like, well, I'm gonna take my little change, and then I'm gonna slide over here real quick, and then put the veil on, I'm gonna put the shirt on, and then be over here with these weirdos. You know what I mean? And I'll see y'all when the next check get cut.
Right. The other thing I was talking to, and shout out to my girl Jennifer with the Rondo demo. We were sitting up one night smoking cigars outside on Stogie's patio, and she talked about that that Clark, whatever, the guys across the country to do the demonstration on that Will and Clark. I forget their names actually. Clark. Willis, yeah. But she was like, there was an African American in the boat with them that actually showed them their way, and he was given the promise of freedom, never received his freedom, and got him up to the Oregon area, the Seattle area, and a lot of their reparations is coming from that promise that was never given, right? Because they went up there and established that based on this travel, a gentleman was given a promise that was never reclaimed. And the funny thing about it, the night I was sitting up there smoking with her, I said, nowhere in the history book do they show that Negro on the boat. He done got painted out. You know what I'm saying? That brother who showed them the way. And it's just been like that. But that's what I'm utilizing that for is I'm trying to explain that's our history. We got painted out. We got scrubbed out. It's the conversation has been without us being present in the conversation, as though we didn't exist in these history books. And we circle right back to education. As a kid, I thought I was educated, and I would argue the point that we did not contribute to that journey, that voyage, because I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? To find out that we were instrumental in that. They would still be walking around in a circle right now if it wasn't from us. Back to your point, to say that this country without us is not a country at all. In fact, the first colonizations that they had, these people were living up in trees because they couldn't figure out how to do the things they needed to do in order to habitate this country. You know what I'm saying? Until they were given that infusion of free labor. And people, they didn't just bring individuals over that were, believe me, the people that they brought over here weren't dummies. They understood agriculture. They understood the aggregating way to farm The reason that these individuals had to get so much land is because they didn't know how to farm. They would go through and strip the land. Here comes Washington Carver with the peanut.
Speak on it, big bro.
The peanut, and with the peanut, because if you understand anything about chemistry, the peanut actually put nutrients back into it once you would start. This is a man with no formal education in this country.
You heard
teaching them.
He said that the creator came to him and told him to pick that.
I'm telling you.
He said peanuts and indigo.
Yeah, he had a billion ways of utilizing the peanut. Come on, man. I'm talking to you now.
Hit it on the head, big bro. Like you said, if you don't have John Washington, because John Washington, like you said, big bro, they were planting so much cotton and so much tobacco that you could not. And anybody who knows anything, like you said, about agriculture knows those things strip the nutrients from the soil. So you can only harvest about 3 or 4 of those before you have to do something else to the land. And like you said, and so what happened is John Washington Carver was working at Tuskegee.
George Washington Carver.
George Washington Carver, and he said he came out with the rubber substitute that was going to be made for tires, and he ended up giving it to what's the brother's name? To Gerald Ford.
Okay.
And Gerald Ford would patent that and come out and come out what the industry did, and that would actually save us and allow us to enter the war that we did. Basically.
Let me build on that. Marcus Garvey, at the time, everybody thinks that his Back to Africa movement was just taking us back to Africa. He actually had an employment integral part of that, and part of the employment was negotiating with Africa to bring rubber over into this country. Part of the reason I think that he was incarcerated and sent in exile from this country was just due to that same facts, that at the time they were trying to get capitalism over there to control that rubber and bring it over here. Firestone, Bridgestone, all those individuals that we talk about, utilizing that. And think about rubber. Think about how integral rubber is. But just think about it too. At that particular time, he was able to do the things that he needed to do, which was get us to take control over that. Negotiate. Think how right now it'll blow up. He was negotiating with Africa to get an international export to this country in order to, and that's just phenomenal. Like, they're not even on that level to this day. Nobody's talking about let's get us a conglomerate together and go over to Africa and negotiate those back to our home. You owe us a debt, Africa. Give us what we need so we can take whatever, platinum, titanium, gold, diamonds, because that's just rich motherland, and be able to negotiate that with this country that buys all that stuff from them. That's what he was on, way before his day.
Or the two brothers you see the two brothers who follow, you said, follow that lineage. What?
Yeah.
Elijah Muhammad.
Yeah.
They clown Elijah Muhammad. You ain't got no sense. You like white man, blase, all that kind of. And then you see brother Umar Johnson. They say, oh no, Umar Johnson, you're nut now. Once again, brothers don't need to be perfect, but like you said, coming out with solutions. Don't act like these brothers ain't got solutions to the problems that we seek.
Yes,
so like you said, they want to make it seem like they has perfect solutions or something like that. That it's not a solution, but it's like you trying to throw these brothers under the table in the fire when it's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, it's always been there. It's like if you pick up a book and you read, and you look for understanding, it's right there. And like I said, I was shocked for the longest, because nobody ever thinks to say, what does America actually produce other than consumerism? People purchasing things. What do they produce? What do they have? They might have some meat. Maybe they had a little bit of oil. They had a little bit of that. But where does it come? Yeah, but even that, they couldn't even produce a pistol unless they got those resources from another country. You understand?
Violence, something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, so we could talk about it, but nobody ever looks to see really what's going on, not nationally, not state and locally, but worldwide, and that's conversation. So we're talking about reparations and trying to get on the right foot. But we should be looking at more of a world, international. And that's why they killed Brother Malcolm, because he took the conversation from New York and from Chicago and said, I'm going to deal with the UN. I'm going to deal with these international. I have rights. I'm a human. I have all these different things. And when he took that conversation up to the higher levels and said, I'm going to have them judge you. You want to go to the UN. You want to talk to them at how you're a democracy, how you want to judge other people and eradicate them out off the face of the earth. But look what you're doing to your own people. And I go back to your wars too, because when you were talking about the wars, the only thing I can think about is how after World War II, how the African American heroes came back to their own towns and they could not go in there and sit down and eat. But the Germans, who were prisoners of war, sat there and they looked at this country. It's so backwards. You know what I'm saying? It's so backwards.
Italians, the brothers and sisters, was for, like you said, yeah.
And it's just crazy. You know, when you start like it just, you know, when you understand history and you know your history, and like you say, you know, not to say anything about anybody. I listen to that rap music too, but it's just like you're missing so much about who you are as an individual if you think that's the only way or the way you're supposed to look or that the foolishness is going on. We way beyond that, and it's just the fact of the matter is that we ain't ciphering together. We ain't trying to build together. We ain't trying to create universes and use the mathematics to get there. It's just killing me. Because, I mean, I can sit down and talk to you about the foolishness all day long. We can kick the bobo all day long. And you sit there, you know, not you, brother, but just the brother in general. I can kick the bobo with them. And we can just conversate about foolishness all day long. Whether it be Trump and his garbage or what's going on Jerry Springer or this and that, or what's going on a Bad Girls Club. But when you really want to sit down with a brother and educate them and, you know, build on something, they ain't trying to hear that, man. They ain't trying to hear that. And that's what we got to get back into and try to teach these our children, our babies, like you are somebody. You know what I'm saying? We are. You the mathematics that you scared of, you created.
You going?
What you scared of? You created that. All that Pythagorean theorem, that's a lie. How you think they built them pyramids? That was you. You understand? And it's just breaking that down and this understanding that is crucial.
I should ask you this because I heard this to speak on what you said of the program. The pyramids I heard. So one homie told me they had used obviously different types of alchemy, and he said they had basically some kind of syrup or some kind of thing that we would pour on the ground and it would turn the ground to glass. And he said that's how he believed the pyramids. He said, but then the other homie, he told me, he's an environment engineer. He told me, and this is, I looked it up. He said, basically, you can use vibrations. And basically, you use a certain amount of salt or sugar, and you can put it under it, and it will allow it to levitate. It will allow, if you use a certain vibration, to levitate. And they said they would take the things and put the solution under it, and do the vibration, and it'll allow the things to levitate. And that's an actual practice, you know what I mean? The engineering practice. And I was like, and like you, to your point, big bro, if like you said, before there was a TV, before there was even a book, we had already came out with the pyramids.
Before they had a hut to throw a shoe out of, we had mastered. We was 24 centuries
before the word dumb or stupid even was invented.
Yeah. We had mastered the skies above us. You know what I'm saying? We had mastered engineering, architecture, mathematics, English, the language we spoke, culture.
Circumvented the world twice.
Yeah.
To the point of, like you said, big bro, a lot of people don't know about the Book of Rogers. You know, so the Book of Rogers was, so a lot of people know about Mansa Musa, you know what I mean? Mansa Musa was the reason why we are in the situation we're in terms of the transatlantic slave trade. My brothers don't know, Mansa Musa was a brother who would circumvent the globe, and he would give away so much. They said his brother gave around $400 million of gold, and he threw off the economy, the world economy. He was a Moroccan brother, and so he was a prince, a Moroccan prince, and he was a scholar. But the gentleman before him, he said that happened around I think Mansa Musa came around 1100 something. They said this brother came around about 100 years before the Book of Roger, and he said he was another Moroccan brother, and he was talking about what you're talking about. Us, we would go from the Horn of Africa, not the Horn of Africa, but from Morocco, and we were making our way to the Caribbean. And so they would be the first persons that start telling Europeans about this pilgrimage of us making our way to Latin America and Brazil. And so he said, this Book of Roger that would be the first book, and he had a map in it. Brother drew a map, and it would be basically the map was centralized on Morocco and everything around Morocco. So it showed a little bit of Europe, showed a little bit of Horn of Africa, but then it showed you the Caribbean, basically. It showed you how to get over there and say, like, do you know, as you know, my brothers might not know, but in Africa, on the east part of Africa, there is a current that will allow you to go direct into the Caribbean. And so that's how we got over here. There's a current, and it goes right into the Caribbean, goes right into Brazil, one goes right into the, into the actual Caribbean, and one that goes into Florida. And these Caribbeans have been here, the credit made, the way, and we found about them. And so, like you said, big bro, for us to come over here, show brothers and sisters, this place over here, and say, hey, this is before the advent of Native Americans. They were African people who, once again, as anybody who knows the history, same with Polynesian, same with Tongan people, or any of these Hindu, any Chinese brothers, those brothers and sisters were from they look like us. Right. They were about as dark as it gets. Right. In terms of Indian people, Native American people were very darker skinned people before they integrated with the Native with white Europeans. Same with black people. Yep. You know what I mean? It's like, and that doesn't mean that, once again, like you said, that's why the history is so important. That doesn't mean that black people didn't have every complexion, in terms of, that doesn't mean we didn't have every light skin, every dark skin. That doesn't mean every have texture of hair, every have freckle. That is because black is the only color that can produce every color and come from every color. And in the continent, we had that before we even left off the continent. And that's, like you said, when Europeans, when we went and went up there and started integrating with the brothers and sisters and meeting them, and then we found out they was, like you said, they didn't have sanitation, they have alcohol. Nothing. You know what I mean? They have any of those. How they have what's it called? Where you carols where you put your animals. They were still living in the same place with the animals, kind of stuff. You know what I mean? All those kind of things.
Those castles were filthy. That those castles that they show nowadays, they had they were freezing cold. They had no understanding of anything when it came to it. It's not to say it's putting things in perspective. So they did a good job of hoodwinking us and making us think that our history starts at slavery. When we came over here, our history is world history. Our history is everything. It's just like you say, when you spoke before about martial arts and how that came about, and I knew about that just from the Moorish American brothers, you know what I'm saying, explaining that, and understanding that. But martial arts has always been in our community, low key in our community. I've seen brothers, I used to laugh because martial arts, they made so much fun of it, but it's like music, anything that it's just like one thing, in behavior science, they talk a lot about the looking at yourself and being, looking at that image and being repugnant, not liking that image that you see. And they've done a good job of having us look at who we are, not even understanding who we are, and not liking it. You see that through our community right now. Walk right past you, don't even know you, but I dislike you for whatever reason. Subconsciously not wanting. I could walk past. I could open the door for a person of another shade of color, and I see you and slam the door in your face. It's just that behaviorism, and people don't understand how deep rooted. We're the only culture that has that. Anywhere you go, you see a Latino brother, you see a Asian American brother, you see anybody, they'll bring them in, they'll help them out, they'll educate, they'll do whatever they possibly can with them. And I'm speaking specifically on the joint, how they stick together. But you see us, as soon as we get together, we split it up because you lived on this street and I lived on that street. And had nothing to do with nothing. Didn't own nothing on the street. Both of us on Section 8, but we feel as though that street meant something to us and we want to argue about it and fight over it. And it's just within our genes. It's been programmed into us. So when you start talking about reparation, you talked about it, this historical harm that's been done to us. It's the money is incalculable. You can't put a dollar amount on it. So and it's just like something I've seen a lot with us trying to get back to where we need to get back to, but you still got a lot of divisiveness within our community. Still a lot of brothers who've been brainwashed and understand, and you can't understand that plantation mentality still exists. It's the ones that said, it's better here on the plantation. You don't want to go out there over there. You don't want to go too far now. Master treat us and feed us.
That's good, yeah.
He treat us, feed us, gave us housing, or we got clothes that once a year. Why you want to disrupt that?
Hey.
You know, and like I said, Malcolm said it the best. It wasn't me, it was we. He thought he was them. Didn't understand it, and we still got that same mentality today. Don't nobody want to do nothing because it's so good, in public housing and getting a check once a month,
America,
and working. You know what I'm saying? We can work, man. Work, sign the check. Don't get a check, sign the check.
Well, like you said, big bro, that is so. If you to further your point, if you can get people to think working is inherent to your living as well.
Yeah.
So once again, you talk about, like you said, that's something that is inherently that. How is it that we invented all these things? Is because what? We knew that having balance in terms of sleep, in terms of thought, in terms of meditation, all the type of things, like all the things that we got through spiritual, all the things that we're able to invent, and like you said, able to create, to your point as well, the word neighbor. It's not inherent. There's no such thing as inherently in it. The word friend, there's nothing in here. The word brother, cousin, all those type of things, community, village, those things we invented with the understanding of, okay, I might not know this brother, but if I don't treat Brother Mo with the sense that he is a friend to me, that Mo's going to feel some type of way eventually. Mm-hmm. It's only a matter of time, because an animal is only going to go to another animal that we studied, like you said, when we studied the animals, we said, no, spirituality comes from understanding reciprocity, duality, understanding, like you said, that is how we invented mathematics. You say, okay, well, not only does me and Mo equal 1 + 1, but me and Mo also equal 2 + 4. We can multiply in that. Okay, it was more than, our blessings are more than covered. Yeah. Like you said, that's how we were able to last 150,000 years without even leaving the continent. But like you said, if you can get people to focus on the music and say, okay, well, you supposed to be shaking your booty out here. Yeah. I love Megan Stan. Ain't nothing knocking Megan, Miss Cardi B. Ain't nothing, brother, ain't nothing knocking none of these young brothers. But like you said, if you can get somebody to say, well, hey, ain't nothing wrong with, Master P. Everybody know Master P won't know genius, but Master P had two things: hustle, and your boy was putting everybody in the team on. Yeah. Can't lose with that. No. So what? He made ain't nobody in his family should have been rapping. None of them should be making music. Yeah. Besides from Mystical. He the only one. You know what I mean? Everybody else, we could pass. You know what I mean? But the reality is what? Like you said, hey man, we out here selling, like you said, the brothers out here selling the mangoes. Hey, with the little, the brothers, let's hug with the corn. Put some mayonnaise on the thing. And you have your son and your daughter, like you said. So the hustle, like you said, big bro. But if you can get somebody to think, like you said, that's why they started printing them. That's how we go from not having any millionaires, to having billionaires. So now there's, people who think you should have more. You can't even spend the amount of billion, like you said, and the money that you're gonna print it. All these things you continue to print it, and then you come out with a credit score, credit cards, and all this other. What does that have to do with if I can't keep my word to Mo? Right. That's you, man. You hitting it dead on the head. You're killing it, man. And so, like you said, big bro, that's what it's all about. If you can get somebody to think, well, there's an off switch for me to be a man of my word. There's an off switch for me to handle my business and say, well, no, because as we know, hey, the reason why we came out with Uncle is because, hey, Brother Mo, he's not ill, man. And when his son and his daughter's out here, I have to make sure, because, hey, my brother was living fine, but man, something wasn't feeling well. You know what I mean? Oh man, the queen, man, she died at birth. Nothing that she did. I'm gonna make sure that we good though. Yep. You know what I mean? And like you said, if we can't get to that simplicity of understanding, like 90% of what they create is just to distract us from us having these conversations. The greatest thing is, like you said, common unity, the community, and that philosophical understanding that you were my brother. And we still use the day, they really don't understand it. They'd rather be called nigga. And I used to always try to correct brothers when I was in the joint. They would come up to my cell and be like, nigga this, nigga that, nigga this. I'm like, hey, don't treat me like a nigga, treat me like a brother, because I know what you do to niggas. I know what they done to niggas. I know what I will too. Yeah, but what would you do to your brother? It's a whole nother conversation. Just to say,
back to the community and the community in general, and understanding it, because philosophically, the reason we have so many problems, this IGSTS, SAFMO, Smoothest Podcast Host and Podcast History, and the reason we have so many issues with what will go on with this criminal justice system is because it lacks reciprocity, right? It's about punishment, one way. You know what I'm saying? I want to get rid of this.
About learning.
Yeah. I want to get rid of him.
About learning.
I want to get rid of him. I want to put him behind the bar. I don't care how he live. I don't care anything like that. But understand the community. If you was my brother, if you did do something wrong. So I was talking. So when I was in the joint, I had this instructor, and I was so proud of him. He was from Ethiopia, but he was our math teacher, and I was his tutor. He was a brother from Ethiopia, my math tutor. He was a Muslim brother. And I was talking to him one day. And he was always telling me like these. He was just like, man, he was my mentor, because he was telling me these stories. Stories like they used to tell, like biblical stories, but they were like stories that had filtered down through his community. So one day he was telling me, he's like, if we ever have a problem, like my wife and I ever have a problem, I don't go to her family to resolve a problem. She comes to my family to resolve a problem, if it's a problem with me. So my mother and my father decides what to do with me. And if she had a problem, you know what I'm saying, I would go to her family and have them resolve it. So it's not that adversity. It's more like if you can imagine if I came and said, your brother did something, you'll be less likely to want him to go to jail forever. You're gonna figure out a way to make him stay in the community, right? So understanding that's how things work. So you can imagine a criminal justice system built on that. Like in our criminal justice system in Africa, what they would do, say you were up and you did something, because it's all about commerce. Less to do with criminality, more about commerce. Say you cheated me out of my goat. And they were saying, well, since he's cheated me out of the goat, I want him to go to jail for 15 years. The last person to speak in that regards would be my wife, because she'd be less likely, because remember, she's going to experience the most detriment from me being in prison for 15 years. So they have her come in, and she's the judge. See how it changed the dynamic of things, right? When you get this dude in a black cape with that wig on and sitting back there, has no connection to the community, and he's running on some political shit, he's subject to give you 17 life sentences, because it makes him look good. It's gonna build his base, and that's what we deal with in this. And people can't, for some reason, they don't figure it makes sense to them, but it really doesn't make sense in the end until it's their child that they're dealing with, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the criminal justice system is doing that or doing this or doing that. It's like, so it doesn't affect them until it affects them, right? So just being said, so when he's giving me this knowledge and making me understand, it's always divine things going on around you that you don't understand what's going on until it's time for you to understand it. So he's inputting this information inside me. And one day I was talking to him, and he was telling me about Ethiopia. And he was showing me when he buying land, building a business in Ethiopia and all that other stuff. You know, Chinese is over there tough, building businesses and doing all types of stuff. So he was telling me one day, and I was like, man, I would love to go back to Ethiopia. You know what he said to me? Why can't you? I said, what you? And when he said it to me, I asked myself, why can't I go back there?
So what are you waiting on?
There, and live. You know what I'm saying? And be part of that community. You know what I'm saying? So it was just coming in contact with that knowledge that I never would have got anywhere else. He would have never sat down and talked to me and spilled that over to me. And there was one more thing he told me about you know, it was an old wise tale that he told me, and it was just about you know, trying to do something devious to an individual, you know, about a person building a grave. And it was another good story. It's just all these things I retained as I walked through my walk and went through my conviction, and it's just that connection that makes me who I was when I came out and I understood what I needed to do. It's just those stories stuck with me. You know what I'm saying? So now we sit here and talk on camera. You know, I'm able to bring it to you and expound upon it and truly understand it. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah, it's just all good, man. So with that, you know, what's coming up? What's coming up? What's going on and coming up in the community that you think we should know about or we should be keep our eyes out for?
Like you just talking about, make sure everybody's applying for that Nexus grant, man. Hey, let's all get that bands, man. If bro winning, I'm winning, man.
Yeah.
Ain't no losing out here, man. Let's make sure everybody, your mama, your auntie, 14 and up.
Yeah, 14 and up. I saw that.
Let them deny you.
Yeah.
Family, let them deny us, bro. Don't let nobody tell you no, man. If you spelling, don't worry about that. Spend it with spelling area. Have me look over. My name Drew. Send it to me or Mo, man. We'll look over for it. It's about us winning because, like at the end of the day, they can print more. They can print more slave owner dollars.
Yeah. The thing about it too, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hook that link up. So when this episode does air, and I'm gonna air it quick sooner than later, people can take advantage of it. I'm gonna hook it up to the TikToks and stuff like that. I'm gonna do it because they trying to keep those dollars under wraps. You know what I'm saying? You was brother, you sent it across to me, another one told me about it, you know what I'm saying? But everybody not talking about it. You know what I'm saying? They should be doing TikToks on doing a TikTok dance to it. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
Let somebody get hurt though.
True.
I know who got drafted last night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you said, you dribbling the ball. You know what I mean? Like
foolishness. We know everything about just all that minutia in our blinds. Of course we can't think about, I'm not trying to listen. I'm not trying I ain't trying to. I do the same things. I sometimes I find myself off my square. You understand? We nobody's perfect, but we spend so much. If you look at your day, you park your day out. How much time do you spend doing foolishness, and how much time do you spend helping your brother or making yourself better? Just picking up a book, reading, turn off the TV, turn off the video game, just read something you never read before. You understand? Or do something you've never done before. You know what I'm saying?
You hit on the head, big bro, because it ain't even about, like you said, a change ain't gonna happen in a day.
No.
And so change comes from consistent effort, and that's how transformation happens, from consistent effort, like you said. So if the person who wants to develop the reading habit, that looks like just opening a book. You know what I mean? Opening a book up daily. You reading a page a day is the start from a beautiful thing for you. The person who started off with the first book, that who wrote 30 books, had to write the first one, had to write the first page, had to write the first page.
Right.
So like you said, King, it's about us being able to prioritize and say, man, I'm gonna value Mo at all costs, in whatever steps we got to make sure that he know that, I know that, everything else will family and the rest. And like you said, if you know that and that's like you said, if we're making decisions like, hey, no other winning is gonna happen besides for the winning that we established. No more all that like you said, them cutting the checks in. It's like, love LeBron, man. Love my man, Patrick Mahomes. Okay, 400 M's, LeBron James worth $1 billion. Obviously, we see what LeBron James is doing. He built a school, wraparound school. My man got one of the best schools in the nation. I am not gonna knock this brother in his school. Got scholarships to Akron, 100% graduation rate. He's already doing a fabulous. I'm not knocking any of that. But the point is once again, like you saying, King, is okay, where is that ability for us to say, okay, why is it that LeBron James don't have his own industry? Which is LeBron James, what he gonna do?
Right.
Because like you said, LeBron James, look at it, he look like anybody who's been to Akron. No, it's Akron look like a motherfucker pull through. You want to pull through Akron as quickly as everybody been to Key Gary, pull through that motherfucker.
Yeah.
I'm out of this bag.
When Akron used to be a hub for when the car industry was going on, that used to employ a lot of individuals. But just like my motherfucking spot, the hikes used to be. I remember as a child riding down there and seeing my uncles and them saying, I used to work there, all those places closed down, got trespassing signs on it, but the dope came. The dope came, right? And they, so they closed down all those factories like Kraft and Frito-Lay and all those different places. They got closed down, and then the dope came, right? As a stimulus program. So the stimulus program they gave to us was the dope. The stimulus program they gave to us was law enforcement and corrections, right? You see, it just worked out a little bit different, right?
Period.
So yeah, I mean, I feel it, and I look at, I'm not to say about Jordan to LeBron. So Jordan moved different than LeBron James. All got getting paper, but LeBron James, a whole nother generation of individuals understanding, who he is, and his wealth and his understanding of things and where he came from. But I always look at it as like, why them? Why not us? Why them? Why not us? You know what I'm saying? When we sit in this same vast understanding of what's going on, and we could utilize it more so, make it happen more so. So I'm not looking, it's not anything, because, and then you look at it, it's only one LeBron James. They got million LeBron Jameses on their side doing the same thing he's doing. So when you say that, point out that one, I say great, fantastic. But if something happened to him, if his legacies get lost.
Well, to your point is so the narrative is being controlled. So there is not one LeBron. There is a ton of LeBron Jameses. The problem it becomes is, once again, is the industry and the capitalization is limiting your scope. So if they're saying, hey, Mo, not only you meeting with Drew, but you got Bro behind here. Not only what you got, like you said, I'm meeting with somebody every week, and if I might not be on the camera, but this conversation is continuous. It's 24/7. We built like this, and this is what the conversation looked like. You know what I mean? And like you said, and so, but if you make it seem like, well, LeBron James, okay, Dwayne Wade, okay, well, Chris Paul, if you say, well, now all these brothers talking about, look at what Steph Curry now he's starting his school up. And so, like you said, if you can get it to make it seem, though, if it's just hard, like you said, or if you can limit the amount of, and then show him dribbling the basketball, then nobody want to hear nothing from it. Or he just done all, or show him saying something silly.
I remember that white female said, "Shut up and dribble the ball." The Fox News host, like,
your dumb ass out.
Yeah, but that's just, but that, see, and that's like, see, it's always that, you only good for so much. You can run the ball, but you can't throw the ball. You can run the ball, but you can't coach. You know what I'm saying?
What about the stroke? I don't think we ready for that. We can't look at the camera for that one. Forget the ball. What about the stroke, America? Where would America be if there won't no stroke? Because miss me with the Latin lover. I'm talking about the Mandinka. I'm talking about brothers who are, they're like you said, miss me with the whole y'all being able to, because everybody knows the history. See, that's like you said, there's a history that goes beyond what happened with the European male and the black male.
Yeah, that whole psyche, it's a psyche based on that too, the penis envy.
But also that has to do with actually what he got from his wife, because his wife said, well, damn, I can't produce like she can do. It came from fertility issues before it was penis envy. First, it came from her realizing that her son couldn't produce. She said, damn, my sons don't look like your son. We can have sex with the same man. I'll sleep with that. I'll steal that dude. But my son, he don't look like your son. He can't dribble. He can't do what he did. Damn. And so it became from that. They said, well, damn, okay, well, you can have the same. Because as you know, we didn't believe in, single man, all that kind of stuff. You could think, oh, do whatever you do. But miss me with the whole, you getting a certain, like you said, from her realizing like, well, damn, I'm not going to be able to be with the black one. And then she put it in, like the brother said, who was the person who was sewing up the KK uniform? Who was the person who sewed on the badges? Who was the person who tucked in or told the son how to feel about when he went to school? Who was the person who patted him on the back or gave him, or cooked him dinner at that?
Mother love, yeah. Mother love.
Period.
But that word stud comes from black males, because it comes from, of course, the horse, but the stud bringing bark into this. As we talk about it, it came from the fact that what they used to do is stud us out. You know what I'm saying? They produced. That's why you see so many black males in our community that have the attributes those attributes that makes us studs, because they viewed us as products or property, and just like you would take a pit,
the cattle,
and you get this prize-winning pit, the same way they done us, and the word motherfucker came back from us, so because the raping of our mother, our females, you know what I'm saying? So not only do we went economic on their ass, not only we can go through the vernacular of this country, the lexicons of this country, and show, that there's certain things that can only be contributed to us, and how we go back to Baby and them, bling bling, you know what I'm saying? It did not exist prior to them. You got white folks saying it now. You know what I'm saying? Went back to your point of music. I'm not going to talk long to that. But back to your point about music, Sam Cooke So there's a lot of history about Sam Cooke.
Man.
So when you start talking about Sam Cooke, people go to him being killed at this motel by this female, which itself is a conspiracy within itself.
Exactly, was assassinated.
But with that conversation, people really don't know how smart this man was and how he's about to turn the record industry on his head. That's why Sam Cooke is dead. Because Sam Cooke was a visionary that they had to get rid of. Man. You know what I'm saying? And they got rid of him.
And it was Sam Cooke, and then who was the other guy? It was not Frankie Lane, but it was so it was James Brown, Sam Cooke, and then who was the other dude who also died? Who was the other dude?
I'm not sure. You
lost his brother's name. But like you said,
I know Sam. I like this music. Snapping my fingers to his music.
But you hit on the head, big bro. Every form of music, there is no form of music that African American, like you said, the medical industry, okay, us, in surgery, open heart surgery, security.
The fact that Illinois is a hospital name from the first black man who it's there. People don't know their history, man.
Get their hands. They did the movie about him. Get their hands.
Yeah, he did the first open heart surgery. It's you remember they used to have those things you put on your steering wheel? I forget what they call. The club.
Yep.
Invented by a black man. The water gun. That pistol, the one that has that super soaker.
Yep.
Invented by a black man.
Oh, like you said, heart transfer.
We go on.
I'll probably say 75 to 85% of medical things are have been invented by the African Americans,
right?
You know what I mean? Because that's the part which just makes it very interesting is because, like you said, is they love to split it when it comes down to us being Nigerian or us being from the Caribbean. Like, oh no, that brother was French, or oh no, that brother was from he was Canadian or. So now we ain't black enough for now. Okay, when it's nigga time, or when it's time to throw us in a boat, or when it's like you said, put us on the news downtown, it ain't got no problem with just everybody being a nigga.
Yep.
But then as soon as it come down to his dad was from England and his mom.
They did the same thing with Obama, President Obama.
Man, oh my God,
they had to split hairs.
Love that
to make him something other than what he was, you know what I'm saying? Man. And they do that all the time, but that diversity, you said it the best, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to keep splitting it. Like you say, civil rights was fought by us. Very few people, they marched, they might have showed them on a camera and marched with it, but that was a whole black experience. And then what they tried to do once it was attained, they tried to get everybody in the world to liquidate it and redefine it. Not to say that those individuals don't need civil rights. It's just saying, where were they when it was time to march? When they was out there getting their head beat in.
I'm
you know what I'm saying? It was my grandmama in there.
Man, we had 12-year-olds and 9-year-olds out there getting lump.
Yeah, and there was nobody there. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, just like it's just like all I'm trying to say at the end of the day, when we was talking about, like I said, initially I wanted to bring you in for a community conversation, but a community conversation is we gonna keep it real. We gonna talk about community in the sense that understanding community first must is understanding yourself, and understanding yourself is understanding who you are on this planet, on this rock. And then when you understand who you are on this rock and what your contribution, then you can come back and be a community person. You can't be a community not understanding who you are and your integral part. That's what made a community. That's what made uncles, brothers, and cousins, nephews, fathers, mothers important in our community, because they had a place in our community. They understood that what their role was representing the community, and they never fucked that up, because there's nothing more precious, a motherfucker. But when you're getting pressure from the people around you, your peers, that's more pressure than anything. You didn't want your mama to look at you any type of way.
Bruh.
She look at you and give you those eyes, you got right, boy. You start crying.
Who don't want to be somebody's favorite brother, somebody's favorite cousin, your best uncle? Come on now, your best nephew, your grandma's favorite. Come on now.
That's it. That just.
Who don't want to be taking care of their loved ones?
Yeah.
Aside from, like you said, the person who then jumped off the boat and lost themselves in the sea.
Right, and they've accepted this.
You're swimming.
Yeah.
And you don't even know.
Yep.
And like you said, but you get on the head, big bro. Like you said, that is, to your point. That is why the movies like The Matrix are so important. Mm-hmm. It's because it talks about that subconscious. It talks about not only do they use sports as a driven about, I said, well, damn, you got games on every night out the week, and damn, the industry's 9 months.
Football, baseball,
You know what I'm saying?
like
You
said,
name
it's
it.
like, well,
Something
why?
to keep your attention.
But you can't say we gonna have baby girl read, her poetry.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't gonna have a young man who was 10 who said, well, no, I came out with a thing of how to make ice cream for everybody. Coming out with kids who came out with all kind, but you can't come up with a show and say Reading Rainbow, like you said, you can't put that on fire. But you can have how many different 20 years of American Idol, 20, Okay, cops, you can take cops off and then put it back on like we needed it again. But like you said, but let it be this on Fox.
Right.
Let it be a conversation of us how we lift each other up and be each other's strength.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
You got one person watching it. And they done turned to it by accident. They trying to get rid of it as fast as they can. Turn that off their TV. They pushing back before they hit something.
Who put these niggas on, man?
I hit back, man. It was a pleasure. I'm glad. I'm proud. I'm love. Man, like since we met the first day we met, it's just been beautiful ever since. It's like you know what I'm saying? It's like we came together and it was just like minds. You know what I'm saying? Just building off everything. You know what I'm saying? Just we don't even have to be together 24/7, but because we know we when we come together, it's just like, man, brother, let's what you've been on. We know because we ain't been doing but building universes, and those people around us, understand us as leaders, fathers, brothers, you know what I'm saying, in our community, and we represent that extremely well. And like I said, when I ran into you and we came together, it was like it's my brother. You know what I'm saying? It was somebody I really, really, really can get down with and talk to and chop it up. And the good thing about it is instead of us, a lot of times you feel yourself trying to educate an individual. It's just good to hear somebody talk to you and you just feel like, man, Joe, that's exactly what I was thinking, Joe. You just edified me and synthesized the thought process I just had. You know what I'm saying? And they, gave baby spoon, fed it to me because I was thinking the same thing you was thinking. You know what I'm saying? And that's a beautiful thing to find, like minds that think alike. And not to say, it ain't like, it's like, nah, bro, and on this top of this, add on to that, add on to this. You know what I'm saying? And make something out of that. You know what I'm saying? And it's a beautiful thing. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, big bro.
Thank you.
Love, man.
Yes.
Continue, like you said, man. Third time in, it's an honor, man.
Yeah, no, you the first person to hit that level. And like I said, I love talking to you. Conversation's not scripted, organic, but it's always edifying. It builds on the soul, understanding of everything. And like I say, if you can't listen to this and get something out of it, man, I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm telling you, man, you should be what we're like. We used to do those old tapes, cassettes. You should be pausing and rewinding, writing shit down. You know what I'm saying?
Say we're gonna have to see you next lifetime. Hey, sometimes this man gonna have to see you on the other side, brother. Hey, the bus leaving, man.
It's IGSTS, it's SF mode, it's SFO 64. You understand? We doing it big. You know what I'm saying? Y'all thought we was gonna be gone. But we gonna still here. We gonna keep on doing it. Brian be in the middle on the cameras. Appreciate that, brother. Love to everybody out there that's been supporting us. Keep liking, subscribing us. You understand me? We gonna hit these flicks real quick and gonna get out of here. Go get something to eat, smoke.
It's real.
Ron.
What do you got to say about SNS Mostan, white emphasis?
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It's America, and you should be able to do it and say what the fuck you want. God bless America.
Actually influence election.